Can there be peace? Can one of us, one, make a difference? Can this world have peace? If you look at the philosophers like Plato, they say no, only the dead have seen the end of war. We haven't had lasting peace in this world. As we sit here, we have many wars going on. Is China our enemy? Are we just destined to have violence, to have anger, misunderstanding? The problem is that the peace is easily broken. Enemies are easily made, but the basic concept is the same. It is very easy to hate a stranger, but it is difficult to hate someone you've seen that has a family, that does good things. So our perceptions have to change on how we see people. If you're an optimist, you think the world can have peace. If you're a pessimist, the world is destined to be at war. My experience in Vietnam is extensive. I first went to Southeast Asia in '58. I left it in 1970. Our first visit to China was when I headed a delegation of White House Fellows in 1973. Of interest in that delegation was then Lieutenant Colonel Powell. He and I have a common interest in China. That interest is to make sure that our relationships are strong and close. He's probably one of the greatest Americans I've ever known. Linda Pearl is a film and TV actress. She has done so much for China and U.S. relations. Every year she volunteers to bring in film producers, directors, and hosts them for 1 or 2 months.
I first met General Lofty, or Byrne as he's known, in the mid-'80s in Beijing. I was there as a tourist. Byrne was asked, ordered I suppose, to be my escort. We became friends in the moment that we met. That's one of Byrne's many gifts. To meet him is to befriend him. He had invited me to go to the Forbidden City. This was January in Beijing, so I am covered head to toe. Fur coat, boots, for what I thought was going to be a walking tour, and he appears in shorts with a bicycle.
When I told Linda that I was having to do a practice run, she volunteered to come along. During that run, we noticed that there were thousands of Chinese following. And it was during that one run that the idea of the friendship runs began. And the first run was from the Great Wall of China all the way to Hong Kong. The second run took place from San Francisco to Washington, D.C. Our biggest vision is working side by side with the Chinese to get us to be better partners and to use the Western Hemisphere as a role model. I know of no other individual that is as respected as Bob Goldman is by the Chinese. Bob Goldman holds more than 30 world records in physical prowess. Plus, he's a medical doctor. He uses sports and medicine to build bridges.
One of the areas where we have been deficient, where we really need to work even harder, is getting the military portions of these countries to work in a closer fashion, moving more in sync together.
Détente means relaxation of tensions. Basically is two archers facing each other. So if there is misunderstanding between the two of us, as we go and make these taut, we have an opportunity to talk. ICBMs means intercontinental ballistic missile. As you and I sit here today, we have thousands of members of the armed forces deep underground waiting for the command to launch. Not only us, but Russians are deep underground doing that. In 20 minutes or less, those missiles go and hit the United States, and we cease to exist. And our missiles go and hit Russia, and they cease to exist. This is the strategy that we call MAD, Mutual Assured Destruction. We've been living with this strategy since the 1950s.
We live in troubled times. Turn on the television, open a newspaper, and there's conflict all around us. And I can't help but think that if friendships had been fostered, resolution could be found more easily.
Every time something comes up on TV about China, there's always this tension, and it's mostly policy-wise. I mean, it's not the ordinary people.
One of the most important things we try to build upon is relationships between nations, between individuals. Lei Feng and Larry Morford, these were two individuals that had great impact not only on themselves, on the soldiers and people around them in their respective countries, but also in the historical path these two important countries, China and America, have taken.
The reason that we want to have a Chinese soldier and an American soldier together is to show the commonality of two soldiers that were truly role models by what their philosophy was, that our world is one big family. I first met Larry Morford at what we call the Foxhole Exchange Program. This young soldier, 20 years old, had such a strong philosophy. The job you and I are doing out here is killing each other. That's the job of a beast, and the least beastly of us should be doing it.
Lei Feng has a very unique reputation in China, one that has historical import. It wasn't that he was a great fighter or a combat person, yet because of this giving back to society during the Cultural Revolution and the contributions he made as a simple person is why there is a Lei Feng Museum all throughout China.
They were both 22 when they were killed. They were both young men who thought that there was a larger community than that of your own nation, that the world is our family. We're working on many fields to try to release the tensions that are between our nations, China and the United States. One of the experiences that I've had was in the strategic arms limitation talks in SALT. I was the Army representative. Opposite me, there was a Soviet colonel. To my left were Polaris missile men, Navy captains. Opposite them were Soviet captains. So we were there sitting twice a week, trying to come up with ways to reduce the possibility of launching missiles by mistake, because we're not talking about war where one dies. We're talking about war where the earth ceases to exist. Instead of ICBMs, we ought to focus on CBMs, which is confidence building measures.
One of the many traditions of friendship that Byrne has created is a program whereby he sends a group of cadets from West Point to China over the summer for a period of 3 weeks. The idea being that when these cadets become officers, they will have had this personal experience with a group of Chinese people. And should the occasion for conflict arise, they will be able to draw on the treasure of the friendships created over those 3 weeks.
I was at West Point to give out the Friendship Award to the new graduating cadets at West Point. And you could see the enthusiasm and the excitement that these young cadets have for traveling to other countries and making a difference. Just like Lei Feng made a small difference, which really became a big difference.
At Food for the Poor, under our logo, we always have the words, saving lives, transforming communities, renewing hope.
Just like Food for the Poor, we're building ways so that America and China can work close together in bringing assistance to those that need it the most.
We started building very sturdy, modest but very sturdy homes for people who lived in conditions that are undescribably bad.
We're going to be working with Chinese in helping to create villages that we're going to call Warriors of Peace. And General Powell is the most notable fellow that we have in the White House Fellows Program. I wanted to offer General Powell a house in Jamaica in his honor.
One of the well-known Chinese ideograms is the going in the same direction of two hands, to where they eventually clasp so powerfully that no external force could pull them apart.
We need not be strangers. And the way that you avoid being a stranger is to be of service to someone. And for me, being service is to bring wellness. Medicine is the bridge to peace. Medicine is neutral, and the plan is teach children to be the conduit of teaching wellness lessons. Children are loved everywhere, and a child teaching wellness is terrific.
One of the ways I've seen the general move his vision into the next generation is through his fabulous children, Mark and Christina. They're a great credit to our country wherever they go.
One of the most interesting experiences for me was traveling to China. My father has spent a lot of time in China, he speaks Chinese, and he wanted me to go to a Chinese school and teach Chinese students how to speak English. And my response was, I don't speak Chinese. And he said, well, they're not trying to learn Chinese. So what I ended up deciding was theater was the way that I could connect.
Yes, brother. Theater come on, brother. Don't have any animal. Let's go. Yeah. It's time for big sky.
And she likes China. She cried with all the kids that she taught.
Everyone loved it, and we had a great time, and it was so much fun.
Our son.
An up-and-coming nation like China is bound to have frictions with the United States, but that doesn't have to be an enemy. We need to establish strong relationships to prevent war.
We are two giants. Whatever we do, we should be able to find some common ground. If this word means something to you, we really have to do our parts to make sure that US and China do not become enemies.
Perhaps we can't solve all of the differences, but as Bern has taught me, if you build up a treasure house of memories and friendships, there is unlimited possibility for good.
Anyone can be a peacemaker. Anything that you can do to connect with another person in another culture, in another country, there's so many different ways that you can find a connection and find the humanity.
The face that these people that we're helping will see of Americans will be one of kindness and compassion and generosity. So the General actually will be doing great work and creating this beautiful PR for the United States and for the people of the United States in encouraging us all to have a universal brotherhood.
We need not be strangers. We need not be enemies. That two soldiers, by the things that they have accomplished in their lives, can teach us how to become better people. We have to get out of our little shell of being just a citizen of this one piece of territory where we are living in.
People generally underestimate the impact that they have on others. People by travel, just by simply going to other countries, by Americans going to China or Chinese coming here to the US and experiencing these completely different cultures, it really opens up people's eyes and minds to what can be. All of these things have a cumulative effect. And so we all need to be part of this society that is making these important contributions.
The U.S. needs to protect itself. Therefore, we have ICBMs. But more important yet is for us to build CBMs, confidence building measures, a film star inviting Chinese to come to Hollywood, a sports medicine doctor going to China and teaching what he knows on how to help people to live longer. Children, students going to China building friendships that will last for a long time. A nonprofit organization in conjunction with Chinese trying to alleviate hunger and homelessness. And without a doubt, I know that these are much more effective than ICBMs. Perhaps the only way that we can stop conflicts is with our children. When we learn to love our children more than we hate our enemies, that's when we're going to have peace. The Chinese have a proverb that says, "One tiger, one mountain." That no two tigers can live in one mountain. When I speak in China, I say two tigers can live in one mountain. Can this world have peace? I choose the optimist side. I choose to be able to say that the role of a leader is to keep hope alive.